can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to try to live the Christian life. It seems like things ought to be a bit easier. I mean, you try to do good, you try to be good, you try not to hurt other people, you try to take care of those in need as best you can, and things ought to go smoother in life. And generally, if you're really living like that, in that way, they do go a bit smoother. And yet, it can still be a challenge to live the Christian life. Because no matter how good you try to be, you are inevitably going to run into some situations that make you terribly angry. You are going to come against some people who just irritate you to pieces, if not downright make you angry or even threaten you in some way. These situations go from the guy who lets his dog poop in your yard, to the gravel truck that doesn't bother covering the top, so you get a cracked windshield. You will end up in situations in life where renters intentionally or unintentionally destroy your property and then don't pay for it. You will have situations where siblings do not help the other siblings take care of their parents. You will have situations where nursing homes or even hospitals don't take proper care of their residents or patients. You will hear of situations where a person is hurting a woman or a child. You will hear of government officials who do things for their own political ends that have nothing to do with caring for their constituents or for the good of the public. And some of these things can do real and lasting harm to people, to the weakest members of our society. They can do real and lasting damage to the future of our society. And sometimes they simply hurt you deeply as a person. So, what is the Christian response to these wrongs? Both personal wrongs and wrongs done to society. Well, the first thing that we must do is to hold those responsible accountable for their actions. If there is a legal issue involved, then you should probably pursue it. That way people and governments are held accountable for their actions. And if it is a personal wrong, if you can address it without causing further harm, then you probably should. But one of the most difficult challenges happens when you cannot directly address the problem or the wrong. In some cases, you can write letters to your congressman and they just don't care. In other cases, the service department at the car dealership is run by a crook, and he doesn't care if you're dissatisfied. Or your siblings see no good reason to change what they're doing. They got what they wanted, or they simply aren't willing to sacrifice to do what you think needs to be done. This is where you have your challenge and opportunity. You have a challenge because you can spend a large portion of your time and effort to get the laws changed, or to bring about a class action lawsuit, or to try to get some elected official out of office. You can spend the rest of your life resenting the irresponsibility of your neighbor, or your family, or the car dealership. You can spend the rest of your life resenting the government. Or you can let it go. This is where forgiveness comes in. First, you hold people and institutions accountable for their actions, but then, by the power of God, you learn to let it go. Now, initially, that sounds like a strange thing to do. If they did you or someone else wrong, then you should hold on to that grievance. You should never forget. You will never talk to them again. You will never let it go. That is the way of the world. That is the Hatfields and the McCoys, holding a grudge so long that the families forgot what the grudge was about. Holding on to the grievance is the normal way of the world. And yet, there is no hope or freedom in that way. There is no life or newness, no grace or peace or joy in living that way. Rather, the way of Jesus is finally to let it go. Forgiveness is not a mamby-pamby way to deal with wrongs. First, God gives you the courage and the freedom to address any wrongs you can. But then, God also gives you the divine power to free your heart and mind and spirit of the past, so that you can live in the joy and the beauty and the freedom of this moment. It may not be easy at first, but the more you get used to letting things go, the easier it becomes. As you get better at this, when someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't have to worry about it. There was no accident. And the truth is, you have probably cut someone off in traffic yourself, whether you realize it or not. When the home inspector missed the fact that there were actually termites in your house, in your new house, maybe he didn't see them because they weren't swarming at the time, or maybe he had other reasons. Doesn't matter. If you aren't going to pursue it legally, you might as well just forget it. Forgive it. Let it go. And your heart and mind and spirit will be freer and lighter. If your co-worker or the cashier doesn't seem as friendly as they should be, maybe they got some things going on in their life that you don't know anything about. Let it go, and you'll be freer and more at peace, not letting the actions and or inactions of others bother you. If the government is not acting in the way that you think that it should, either work to change it or let it go. There has been corruption and self-interest in government since the beginning of governments. Your irritation is not going to change anything but make you an unhappy person and possibly turn you into a grump. And no one likes being around a grump, even themselves. And you might be surprised how much better you feel by turning off that radio or TV. You see, we often like to define ourselves by imagining that we are better than the other person, that we are more righteous than those other people who do not think or act correctly. Such a feeling is deeply ingrained. And so, not defining yourself by what you are against feels alien, and it is. Forgiveness is from God. And so God gives you the freedom to define yourself by goodness, by choosing to overlook wrongs, by choosing to intentionally look for the beauty in life, by appreciating the abundance in your life, by loving the people in your life, even the grumps. Because sometimes, well, you're probably occasionally grumpy too. But as you continually choose to define yourself in a positive way, continually looking for the good, then you gradually shape your mind into the ways of God. You gradually shape your heart and mind into the ways of mercy and understanding and love and graciousness and gentleness. These are the ways of peace, and forgiveness is the key. Over and over and over. Letting things go in the name of Jesus.